David Hardcastle, and this is Chiang Mai, possibly the coolest city in Thailand. I run the magazine named Good Morning Chiang Mai News, and it's part of my job to keep my big ears open for news and interesting people who live here or maybe are just passing through. I'm 59 and I spend almost every day slaving over a hot computer, and I've just met some people who retire at the age of 38. Please meet Billy and Akaisha Kaderli. Akaisha, that's an unusual name. Where does that come from?
My father was in India in the war, the Second World War, and Akaisha is a Sanskrit Indian name.
So does travel run in the blood?
A bit, yeah.
Now, how is it that you folks managed to plan to retire at 38? But before you tell us how, and it's a fascinating story, just tell me why. Why retirement at 38?
We were working way too hard. We didn't have enough fulfillment, I think, and we wanted to focus on doing other things.
And international travel, of course, was a big part of that.
That's right.
Yeah. So what businesses were you involved with before all this?
We owned a restaurant, and as well as I became a stockbroker for a Morgan Stanley Dean Witter in the United States.
Obviously a successful one.
Yes, well, we'd like to think so, but we were working so many hours that it was like we were two ships passing in the night. I was working days, and Akaisha was still running the restaurant, working nights, weekends, holidays, and so we saw very little of each other. And it just got to a point where we asked ourselves, what was life all about? What were we doing this for? So we took stock of our finances, and took a couple of years to plan it, and we decided that we had enough financially to retire, to become financially independent.
So you spent 2 years building up to this. You'd made your plan, you'd made your decision. What did you do in those 2 years to make this happen?
We watched our spending. We wrote it down. We saw what it was that we were spending on ourselves. That was a very good place to start. But even before then, we did not create consumer debt in any way. If we bought something, we paid for it. I think I would say to people, if they wanted to begin this right now, is to get out of debt. That would be the first and foremost thing. Get out of debt, stay out of debt, live below your means, know what you want to do and why. And then from that point, then you start saving money and go from there.
And teach yourself how to be your best investment advisor. You don't need a stockbroker. You can do this all by yourself these days. There's tutorials everywhere. There's a plethora of information out there that you can teach yourself. You'll gain more confidence. You'll be more in control, and you can do it.
No risk of rip-off.
You've
Not if you know what you're talking about.
You've got only yourself to blame. Keep it simple. You don't have to. It's not rocket science here with investments. Keep it simple to what you understand. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it. That's the best advice I can give.
Very good advice.
And so the next question was, were we emotionally ready? Being 38 years old when we stopped working was a big leap. And so what the question centered around, what were we going to do with ourselves once we retired?
And international travel had always been a passion?
Very much so. Mm-hmm. We're both travelers.
And with a particular passion perhaps for not just what we don't like to call Western countries, but something exotic, Africa or the East or Mexico. You lived in Mexico for some time?
Yes, we lived in Chapala, Mexico for about 10 years and got very involved with the community. And from there we found Thailand in Asia, and so we traveled through the Southeast Asia, including Australia, New Zealand, Vietnam, China, Burma.
Mm-hmm. And you've developed favourite places?
Right, we have 3 bases so far, and one is in Arizona, in the Chapala, Mexico, and then Chiang Mai, Thailand. And we like to, what we call a base is a place where we can set up home, come here, get set up, and then we can travel out of here, do month, week, 2-week trips out of here.
Mm-hmm. Most people are going to be asking, how did you build up to this momentous decision? It's breaking the traces, it's really changing your lives, and you spent 2 years planning to do it.
Yes, we, like I said, we decided that we needed to make a change, otherwise something was going to blow, and so financially we decided that we needed to know how much money we were spending currently, and from that we figured out that we did in fact have the net worth to support this.
Are you prepared to tell us about your budget?
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, we'd be happy to, but what's interesting is it's not about us. It's about you. if you're looking to take the same path that we took. Because it all starts with how much you're spending today on yourself. And if you strip away what it costs you to work, what we call the cost of working, most people say I've got a cost of living. We call it the cost of working. That means your clothes, your dry cleaning, shoes, haircuts, vehicle, maybe 2 vehicles. All this has a price. And when you strip all this out of your budget and see what you're spending on yourself, that's where you start.
And by making this momentous move, you obviously left a lot behind. Did you leave family, children behind? Were there some heartstrings being pulled there?
It was difficult at first when Billy brought up that idea of retiring early. I considered retiring early to be 55, and that I'd have a full career and a full life in the meanwhile. And I wasn't ready at 38. I wasn't ready when he brought it up at 36. But when he showed me the numbers and I realized I had to make some trade-offs, once that got through my mind, then I was ready for it. I was excited about it. We needed to make a change. It was time. We weren't really fulfilled and happy, and I wanted to do more with myself than just put in the 60, 80 hours a week I was doing.
Would you say for people who have children, let's say they get into the mid or late teens, they're in college or university, they have the confidence to travel, people in that situation of life should really seriously consider retirement, if not at 38, but maybe 48?
I think you can consider retirement anytime you want, anytime that you are able to cover your expenses and your living style by your finances. You're financially independent, and I think you can do that anytime you want. And what we like to say is that it's financial independence, so we can choose what we do with our time. That it's not we're retired from life. We just put our job on the coat rack. You know, we are very engaged in our lives. And if you can afford to retire much earlier, then go for it. I don't think having kids at any particular age is necessarily any easier. I think some people do use that. But once the kids get past teenagers, then it's college. Once they get past college, then it's marriage. Then once they're past marriage, then it's helping them with the house, and then there's grandchildren. So it's never any earlier or any easier than any other time.
We've seen both sides of this. The kids are amazingly well behaved, and we can sit and chat with them just like we're chatting with you, like an adult. They've got a perspective of the world like no teenager that we know of in the West. That viewpoint, we think it's the best geography and social studies course that the parents could ever offer them. It's hands-on. Plus, they pick the language up very easily.
I think it depends on what parents want to offer their kids. Some parents work a lot and they offer a stable environment for their children, and there's a lot of benefit to that. And on the other hand, there's other folks that want to give their kids more variety, immersion in another culture. They can learn a different language. And I think in that situation what's really powerful is they find out what's inside themselves that's stable and strong. And that's really powerful for themselves to build a strong life.
A friend of ours just came here to visit us that we've met here in Thailand a couple times. He's a U.S. citizen, lives in Florida. He's got the financial wherewithal to retire early. He's ready. He's this close to making the break. He's going through that indecision period right now. He's in Bangkok and he gets hit by a tour bus crossing the street. Knocked out cold. They had to resuscitate him on the street. He was out for 10 minutes. Had to go to the hospital, spent 3 days in the hospital under observation. And now he's questioning his whole life.
But you're not staying in a 5-star hotel? You don't travel first class?
We didn't come to Asia to stay in a Western 5-star hotel to be with other Westerners. We'd much prefer to be with the people, shop where the people shop, eat in the local restaurants, use the same transport that the locals use. It just economically makes sense.
How much are you spending a day or a week?
Well, we don't like to use the term budget. We spend pretty much what we want to, but what we do is we track the spending. So like today when we went out to lunch, we spend 400 baht, which is about $10 US. And so when we go home this afternoon, what we'll do is we'll mark that down on our list for the things that we spent today. And we had breakfast, and tonight we'll have dinner. We mark that down.
We operate from a position of not being large consumers. I mean, there's only so much food you can eat. There's only so many clothes you can put on. There's only so many vehicles you can own. And we just do not have huge desires in that way. And I think most people in their normal, everyday lives, I mean, they don't go out and blow $100 on lunch. I mean, it's a vacation. And in our situation, it's a lifestyle, not a vacation. And when we had vacations, we spent quite a bit of money.
And I noticed that you travel with a laptop, and that's
Yes.
how you keep in touch with the world. Sure, you buy newspapers, as you did in Mexico, as you said some time before. But I notice you don't have one of these things.
No.
You've avoided. How? I envy that. How do you manage without?
First of all, I don't know how to use it. But secondly, we would much prefer to be contacted on our terms. Our time is precious to us, and it drives me nuts to have one of those things ringing constantly when I'm with people.
And you have embraced another bit of modern technology, because I know that you've written a book.
No, we wrote a book. It's titled The Adventurer's Guide to Early Retirement. We sell it through our website, retireearlylifestyle.com. Akaisha came up with the idea of putting it on a CD-ROM and mixing this with over 200 color photos. It was the perfect media for us to do this.
It could be a streak of stubbornness, not wanting to go traditional routes, but we never quite fit in the box anyway, and this was just another one of those places. And with the 200 photos and the price that we offer it, I think anyone could purchase it and benefit from it.
I'm sure. In fact, I'm your next best customer, I'm sure. But there must be some downsides. Hasn't all these changes and the massive amount of time that you're able to spend together, you're together every day, every night, you're not dashing off to the office, you're not away for a conference, you're together 24 hours a day. Does this put a strain on the relationship, may I ask?
Oh,
Sure.
you can ask. We had businesses together, so we've always had 24/7 pretty much, and sure, we let it blow sometimes.
But basically, you say there's no downside in this. Your relationship, in a way, is actually stronger.
It is
Yes,
stronger now,
definitely.
yes.
Yes.
Well done.
Traveling will do that.
Yeah, travelling broadens the mind.
Yeah, well, it broadens the mind and makes you more flexible. And it, when one person's tired, or you're tired of taking trains or boats or whatever, the other one says, "Come on, we got to get there. Let's go. So
But what's the end game?
you'll have to read the last chapter, which hasn't been written yet.
We don't really know.
We-
We keep thinking we're going to settle somewhere, but we can't really decide. There's so many paradises.
One of the benefits of our lifestyle is that we're not here for 2 weeks. We can stick around, learn what's going on politically, meet some people in the community that make things happen, and we never know where that's going to evolve to. In Mexico, we got very involved with the local community. Myself got involved with the sporting aspect of it. I coached a women's basketball team.
And your other sport was tennis, and you raised thousands of dollars to build new tennis courts.
That is correct. And once again, I was thrown in with the city council and the mayor in order to get approvals for this. And it took a lot of hard work to raise the money, and then it took more hard work to build in a foreign country, which I have little experience at, but I was able to do it. And now we have 6 of the finest tennis courts in the area, and a very, very successful tennis program.
These
What-
are the kind of things that we get involved with. It's when we retired the job. We are athletic, we're energetic, we like to get involved with people's lives, and these are the types of things we were looking to do, and not just spend a certain amount of time every week at work. And so these types of things are really fulfilling to make differences in people's lives.
How many people are going to be able to follow your example?
We built our finances by ourselves, our way, by hard work and hard savings. When we went to Europe in 1979 so that I could study more French cooking, and when we came back, we had $104 US between us,
And no place to live.
and no place to live. We were
No
staying on our
jobs.
parents' floor.
It's a story of really self-determination and self-reliance. Anybody that can rely on themselves and work hard and be committed can do this. You know, a lot of people right now, right today, they could retire if they wanted to, but actually they're too afraid. There's a lot of security knowing that you get a paycheck every Friday. There's a lot of security knowing your neighbors. You go home to the same house with the 5 bedrooms and the 4 bathrooms. People love that.
Especially with the recent real estate boom.
Right. These people have more money than we did at that time when we retired. They just don't have perhaps the personal courage or mental clarity that it takes to prioritize what it is they're looking for. And if they are happy living that kind of life, then they should continue. We wanted to do something else. I wanted to see the world.
Taking control of your life
Right.
is a popular phrase. That's what you're really encouraging people to
Yes.
do.
Exactly.
Live your
100%.
dream.
Live your
That's
dream.
right.
Another cliche.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, when Billy brought up the idea of the early retirement, I think what happened was that it took me by surprise because I wasn't ready for it at 36. I would have been ready for it at 50, you see, but it was like decades before, and I realized that I had to reconsider what it was I was doing with my life. And I just assumed I'd work hard. I just assumed I'd have the new cars. I just assumed I'd have the nice house. I just assumed I'd have the nice clothes and the big vacations. I mean, that's what everybody does, right? And so that's why I think I was angry at him for the shock of it. How dare you take that away from me,
And then we had to deal with our friends. And that created a chapter in a book called Peer Pressure.
Some friends were advising you very strongly against all this.
Very much so.
Yeah.
You won't be able to get back in the workforce once you're 40.
Yes, they said that we were committing financial and social suicide. No one would call us up again. We'd never be employed again. Don't you know they hire no one after the age of 40?
Yeah. Unemployable.
Yes.
Prospects bleak.
Right.
Right.
We heard it all.
I was shocked that they would have that kind of view of the world. I mean, I don't consider myself useless. Do you consider yourself useless?
Even though I'm 59.
No, of course not. You've got lots to contribute, and you always will.
We like to think of it as reinventing ourselves. And so we're constantly looking for new avenues to take, new paths that we can learn from.
Some people said to us that they are afraid of becoming mentally stale.
Well, if you'd have told us 18 years ago that in 18 years you'd write a book, my English teacher would be rolling over in her grave.
Well, your Spanish teacher rolls over in her grave now that you speak Spanish.
You've reinvented yourself, created a new life. That's what you've written about.
That's exactly correct. We wrote about our life, how we retired, the obstacles that we've overcome in our retirement, and we've intermixed this with a lot of photos and some travel stories to illustrate our lifestyle.
I bet you've never met anyone else who's done this.
We have met other couples who've done it. In fact, we're in contact with them via the internet as we discover each other. And, one thing in the future would be to have a convention.
But you'd never guess where.
Right. We could never agree on where, I don't think.
There's a lot of people out there that are contacting us. We just got a letter yesterday from a man who's 26 and wants to retire. And we were talking about families earlier. There is a family with several children who are in their middle 30s that have retired and moved to Costa Rica.
Right.
So actually, it's
more
not
common.
unusual. It's more common than we might think. Mm-hmm. It's maybe becoming something of a passion, a new social goal to aim at.
Yeah.
People are looking for an alternative to the rat race. They're seeing what's happening. They're in such a routine and a rut at home.
There must have been compromises along the way. There must have been trade-offs. Please tell us about that. Come on, be honest.
Well, actually, it is about as perfect as you see it. We very much enjoy this lifestyle, but it isn't for everyone. And as far as trade-offs go, I think those people who are working 50, 60, 70 hours a week are the ones making trade-offs. We like this type of lifestyle, and you got to find out what you want to do with yours, and the trade-offs just come. You can't have everything at all times.
One of the advantages of our lifestyle was that when Akaisha's mother and father both took ill at different times, and my father as well, again at a different time, we were able to spend months with them with end-of-life care. And that was very special for both of us.
I could never have done that had I been running the restaurant.
Or running a career.
That's
or
right.
any job where you had to go work 9 to 5. We're talking about being the primary caregivers here.
I was there 24/7, day, night, anytime she got up.
That's a vital aspect for
Yes,
the older generation who, not only are you not neglecting them, you're actually in a position to be able to spend quality time with them when it really, really matters.
Yeah.
And it was special. I can't stress that enough, to be able to spend the last days of their lives with each one of these folks.
Excellent. Yeah. Does your lifestyle depend on spending quality time in lower cost countries? Are you able to calculate what's going to happen to airfares next? What's the financial foundation for your confidence in all this?
It certainly doesn't hurt going to a lower cost economy. That definitely makes your money stretch.
It's not where you go, but it's how you live.
When you embarked on this adventure, the internet, I think, was in its infancy. Maybe we hadn't really discovered emails. Do you now find that this has helped you in some degree?
Immensely. Well, it's interesting because we retired in 1991, and I'm sure the internet was invented, but we didn't hear of it. We didn't get our first notebook until 1997. So that was when we were first introduced to it. Now, airfares are a great example of that. Everybody knows how everybody airfare shops with the internet these days. Now, we may be looking at Asia, and all of a sudden a flight to Mexico comes up cheap. We go, bingo, let's go.
Flexibility.
Flexibility,
And
exactly.
information.
All in the
They
book. The Adventurer's Guide to Early Retirement.
I wish I'd met you 20 years ago.
We wish so too.